.327 Federal Magnum beats 9mm, and today I have Federal Hydrashok personal defense. Both are low recoil loads. Now, when I say .327 beats 9mm, that's just kind of a funny thing I say, just because I have decided that this is my main carry gun, and there's a lot of reasons why. Because .327 kind of addresses a lot of the issues that both .38 Special and .357 Magnum have a problem with. You know, .357 Magnum's powerful, but it's got a lot of blasts, a lot of recoil. It's not a very efficient round in the snub. .38 Special, well, it's a little bit underpowered. .327 Federal Magnum uses about 9mm powder charge, sort of, and it's at a higher pressure, so it's a very efficient short-barreled load. Very low recoil because of low bullet weights and all of that. Low flash because of the lower powder charges. And with gold dot ammo, stuff like that, you can get the same energy as a .357 Magnum out of a snub nose. But today we're working with Hydrashok low recoil. Now this stuff is a little bit closer to .38 Special in energy, but it has actually been one of my main carry loads for a long time, and I kind of proved that here. I got one of these old boxes of Hydrashok .327, same ammo. Very low recoil. We have probably the same or less recoil than a .38 Special, but a little bit more energy. Now our 9mm, this is a 135 grain, this is an 85 grain. So our 9mm is also marketed as a low recoil, and it is, again, a very low powered round. Both of these are going to have less energy than your typical counterparts of the same calibers. But what you get in return for that is a lot more shootable rounds, a lot less recoil, and a lot more people could handle this ammo pretty well. So we're going to test this ammo. We're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time. And as always, I'm going to shoot through my 10% clear ballistics. We got 4 layers of denim, followed by 3 inches of clear ballistics to represent hitting like a pectoral muscle, followed by a 1/4 inch MDF to represent hitting like ribs or sternum, and to more clear ballistics. We'll do a shot with this to represent hitting a chest shot and a shot without this, to see what kind of difference there is and see, you know, what our total ballistic performances. And then I'm going to shoot from 25 yards from my steel silhouette. And then I think I'll move up to 10 yards to see what kind of practical accuracy we can get. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have our Hydrashok 9mm 135 grain low recoil. It's rated at 1060 feet per second, so it's a little bit low on our rated velocity. So let's see what we can get out of this 3.2 inch Taurus G2C. 1049, nice. 1045, 1062, 1050, 1029. So really consistent velocity, and that's actually a really good group for this gun, which I never shoot well. So that's a positive. Let's see how our .327 Federal Magnum does. All right, .327 Federal Magnum, it is rated at 1400 feet per second, but that's probably through a 4-inch barrel. So that's 1.9 inch barrel, so we're going to get a lot less than that. But let's see how our .327 does through our 1.9 inch or 1.875 inch Ruger LCR. 1203, 1186, 1166, 1202, 1179. A little bit more bark than that 9mm. The recoil wasn't that bad at all. I mean, a little bit higher than a .38 Special, but nowhere near a .357 Magnum. So pretty good overall. Let's hit our Ballistics gel block and see what we get with these rounds. All right, first up we have our 9mm through our 4 layers of denim, 3 inches of clear ballistics, 1/4 inch MDF into more clear ballistics. Let's see how our 9mm does. All right, so what we got going on there is we can see that we're stopped at about 15.5 inches. Looks like we have a little bit of moderate expansion, not too much over penetration. So let's take out this MDF, take a look at this. It does appear from looking at that we are getting expansion in that first 3 inches, which typically means that we're going to have good, at least decent expansion in that jug lock. So no MDF. We'll see how our 9mm does. All right, right up above that with no MDF. Let's see how this does. Pretty good amount of damage, and we're just poking into that second block there. So we are at about 19.5 inches total penetration, which isn't extreme over penetration. I'll take that as being okay. I don't really see that as a failure necessarily, even though most people will say once it hits 18 you're done. But if you're at 19.5 inches, if it were to exit that 18-inch block, you're probably at less than 100 feet per second, which would bounce off an innocent bystander. So not too bad. Let's try our 327, see what we get. All right, 327 Federal Magnum through our MDF. See how this will do. All right, so what we're looking at there is quite a bit less penetration, and that kind of makes sense. So we have pretty similar damage to a 9mm, just maybe a little bit more and a little bit more fragmentation of that MDF. But we stopped at about 11.5 inches, which would typically be maybe 13.5 without the MDF, typically, if we get the same expansion and all of that. So let's take this MDF out. We'll take a look at this. Yeah, we definitely got expansion on that first 3 inches, so not looking bad. Let's try it without the MDF. All right, no MDF, just our gut shot. Let's see how our 327 does. So there is actually a little bit of a difference there. Instead of that 11.5, we're actually only at about 12 inches. So we're just barely at our minimum here. This does arc up a little bit. So when it arcs up, you actually lose kind of a little bit of distance that it would be going straight. That's just from lack of momentum because it's only an 85 grain bullet. So we're at 12 inches. If we're straight through, it might be 12.5 inches, something like that. So overall, it's not bad, and we're certainly nowhere near this 9mm, which, you know, it's a 135 grain, I believe. So that makes sense why the momentum keeps it trucking and going a little bit deeper than maybe what you want it. So overall, though, both these are not too bad. Let's start up from shooting from 25 yards, see what kind of practical accuracy I can get with these. All right, 25 yards from the target, 9mm G2C. Let's see how this does for me. Wow. So that actually shoots really well. That first shot was probably just a little bit of a fluke there why I wasn't able to hit. Let's try our 327 Federal Mag from 25 yards, see how this does. All right, I'd say equal overall performance. Let's move up from 10 yards, see what we can get. All right, 10 yards from the target. I generally like to just kind of pull up and see what kind of point shooting I can do with these rounds. It's not necessarily a judgment of the round, just of kind of overall how I feel with the gun, and sometimes slower rounds do better for me. I just get a better feel for it. So let's see what I can do with this G2C. Not too bad. Let me fire a little bit quicker. All right, gun started slipping out of my hand a little bit, but overall not too bad. I'm gonna do the same thing with the 327. See how it feels for me on a point and shoot. It was kind of shooting high at 25, so yeah. And the way this thing points naturally for me has the muzzle a little bit high, so I'm gonna aim about 2/3 down the target. Try to do a point shoot, not aim, but you know, just kind of get a quick view. Yeah, a little bit high for me. So that's not going to work for me. For a point shooter, let me aim on it, get the nice white front sight, and fire them a little bit quicker. I'm struggling a little bit with these rounds. Case ejection is excellent, which is not always a thing for 327 Federal Magnum. So, try some more. I pulled one a little bit, so it is a little bit much of a round for me. However, it's not brutal. It's just I have a little bit issue with point shooting, is where if I had like 327 Federal or 32 H&R Magnum, I think I'd be able to shoot a little bit better at that range, at that speed. So overall, I'm not seeing anything bad with this ammo. And we got to look at some of the stuff that a lot of people don't look at. Case ejection, you know, even though it's not the most powerful, and people say gold dot's better. Well, gold dot, you got to sit there and pound on that ejector and get those spent cases out. As these are just right. They're nickel plated. And typically companies nickel plate stuff that they know is not going to be super high pressure, because if it's super high pressure, the stretching of that brass would crack that nickel plating on the outside of it. So anytime you see nickel plating in a revolver cartridge, you're probably safe to say it's going to eject pretty good from your revolver. And kind of the same thing for some automatics, and it's also a little bit smoother surface. So overall, I'm going to say this is pretty good ammo. It's pretty good. It's pretty shootable. I would say in our ballistics performance, I think the 327 did a little better, but the shootability of the 9mm, you know, and I'm a revolver shooter, so take this to heart. The shootability of that round in that 9mm is actually a little bit better. So that's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.